Hello, everyone. Welcome to one episode of From the Field. As a remembering, From the Field is an episode from the New Zealand technical team where we share some tips and tricks, some trends in the New Zealand market. And today I have two special guests. One is Nick Choi, a solutions architect from the New Zealand team, and we have Andre from Lycon, one of the partners here in New Zealand. Up to you, Nick. Welcome to the show.
Cool. Thanks, Eduardo. Hey, everyone. My name is Nick Choi. I'm solutions architect at AWS, based out of New Zealand office. And kia ora, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. And my pronouns are he and him, and I will get Andre to introduce himself.
Kia ora, everyone. My name is Andre Morrison. I'm a senior developer and APN ambassador from Lancome Technology. Really looking forward to diving into the subject today.
Fantastic. Thank you, folks. And today the topic is SaaS Boost, which is one of the frameworks from AWS that help your company to speed up your migration to a SaaS architecture. We'll see that we own a really deep from the presentation. But before we start, Nick is, or as solutions architect, leading the Glamazon initiative on ANZ, and especially in New Zealand. Nick, could you share a little bit more what is Glamazon for folks that are watching?
Yeah, Glamazon is one of the oldest affinity groups at Amazon. So it's an employee resource network, and it focuses on rights and inclusive and safe environments for LGBTQI plus employees and its allies. And I am lucky enough to lead the Australia and New Zealand chapter with my colleague based out of Sydney.
And how is this channeling being, and how AWS is helping that part of the community? That this program also expand outside AWS, as far as I know. I'm correct here?
Yeah. I mean, as a chapter lead, you get to actually integrate, work with a lot of different parts of Amazon. So being in AWS, it is large enough organization, but obviously Amazon. So working with my colleagues in Audible, Amazon.com.au, and other businesses, it's really amazing to actually connect with others who are also doing really great work.
No, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And let's stop the small talk over here. I think everyone will be interested in the main topic of today. And I give you the stage, Nick. Let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks. So before we talk about SaaS Boost, I want to talk a little bit about SaaS Factory. So SaaS Factory is an AWS program, and what it provides to AWS customers and partners is knowledge of SaaS. So we have worked with hundreds and thousands of SaaS companies and software companies building on AWS. So we share our best practices and case studies publicly, and there is a SaaS Factory Insights Hub where you can find all these resources. And secondly, SaaS Factory team also release and make available ready-to-use resources. So last year, they have launched SaaS Lens for Web Architecture tool. So it adds additional questions that are relevant for SaaS product companies. And as part of reInvent in 2020, we announced the launch of AWS SaaS Boost, and this has gone general availability in May 2021. And other is engaging with other SaaS experts that includes the AWS partners such as Lancome and other SaaS organizations. Cool. So SaaS challenge. A lot of software companies kind of on the left-hand side. So customers want to move from left to right, where they are offering SaaS solutions. On the left-hand side, you will see different customers on different versions. They have their own stack of management, configuration, and deployment strategy. And it's really how do you get from this MSP model, managed service model, where you're kind of dictated by customers' requirements, different upgrade cycles, their testing requirements into the unified SaaS experience for your customers so they can get to value faster. But reality is, the SaaS is way to address the market and customers that you're facing. And increasingly customers are looking for SaaS solution rather than having a bespoke installations. And on the right-hand side, you will see a few orange boxes. So all SaaS products needs foundational capabilities. And where it's really different from the managed service model is the unified experience in onboarding, managing identity, and having concepts around metering and billing, also tenants-aware operations. So, when you look at metrics, when you have multi-tenanted environments, how do you know which tenants are using your system, different profiles, and that can also help you, determine like pricing tiers. You will have seen a lot of SaaS products out there. They may have freemium models, or they might go from basic to premium.
Yeah.
So getting the understanding not as a whole SaaS product level, but also drilling down into the individual tenants.
And it's interesting here, Nick, that moving from left to right is a business dilemma, right? Because you can have a monolithic or a small way to deploy scripts for a specific customer 1, 2, and 3, and then this journey to move to a more standard procedure or a more standard architecture around your SaaS, and have multi-tenant the definition inside your architecture is a tricky question for the customer, because they need to think about, I need to rewrite this part, I need to refactor that, or modernize this component. How they usually think about that? If you could share a little bit more on that.
Yeah, actually, that segues really nicely into my next slide.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So, customers with monolith or other solutions, there's like, how do you get to SaaS model? And, you start to evaluate the 6 Rs: we host, we platform, we architect, we purchase, retire, retain. And a lot of, customers, often kind of get paralyzed by, understanding how long is it going to take? Am I going to have the return on investment, and having the risk? And what often happens is that a lot of times the rewrite seem like it's the easiest way to get there. But of course, rewriting anything that you have built over the past decade or even more does take a lot of time. And need additional people to make that happen. And the challenge there is that because that process takes a considerable amount of time, when you actually get to the SaaS offering, you really risk of building the wrong solution that customers want. It may be because you kind of misunderstood what customers' value is out of your product and the change in SaaS delivery model. Or it could be customers' needs have changed in that 12, 18 months that the companies rewrite those applications. So what SaaS builders have sort of asked AWS is like, how do we get to SaaS faster and onboard paying customers into SaaS platform? So that's where we saw an opportunity to provide that migration and onboarding new customers. So you get to SaaS faster, and then you can iterate on that to create new versions of their product based on customer value and customer feedback. So shortening that time to value, which is really critical in any SaaS offering, and really understanding that lifetime value of the customer. Does it answer your question?
I think you nailed it. That was beautiful to see that explained on that slide. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And without further ado, introducing SaaS Boost. So it's a ready-to-use and open source reference environment. At the moment, it's targeted to traditional monolith web application into SaaS model. And it's value really is moving those applications launched into SaaS delivery model, and you can kind of think of it as a launch pad for space. I mean, in past couple of weeks, there's been few space travels, including Blue Origin. So giving you that construct around all of the ground control, the rocket, and all you really want to care about is your payload, right? Your people and what you're carrying to the space and having that experience. And you don't necessarily want to build everything around. So all of those common capabilities I talked about earlier around onboarding, metrics, DevOps pipeline. So that's where a lot of value from SaaS Boost lies. And why open source? Obviously, there's more than one flavors of SaaS. There's no one right way to build, and we really believe, the best SaaS solution can be built collaboration with community, and it is built to last. It's only been GA for past 2 months, and we learn from our customers on what's important to them.
So we are collecting feedback and also contributions on this open source project, right?
That's right. Yeah, actually, there's been few pull requests, and I do believe there has been at least one community contribution already made it into master.
Great.
Yeah. It's
great to know that a 2 months project is already receiving contributions from external open source contributor. That's really great.
Yeah. It's really great to see having it as an open source, and it is written in Java. I know that's one of the things that not all customers are using Java, but all of the SaaS Boost currently is Java for all of the microservices that are supporting those core functions, and all of the admin application for managing your tenants and application is built on React.
Oh, fantastic! Another open source tool too. That's great.
Yeah. Cool. First step really is SaaS Boost give you all of the building blocks, all of the orange building blocks there, and you are bringing in your application into the middle gray box. And future for, SaaS Boost really is supporting multi-containers, pooled SaaS model, and better operational insights, and giving you more control on relational database optimizations and things like that, and identity integration. And you will see this a little bit more during the demo of SaaS Boost. So SaaS Boost, so this is an experience as a SaaS solution builder. So this is installing SaaS Boost into your AWS account. So just like any other open source project or any development project, you clone the repository from GitHub, provision it to your AWS account, and you also have optional components that you can deploy there around metrics and dashboard, and you can upload your application. So the repository does contain a sample application.
Sorry guys, sorry to interrupt. The lights have gone out where I am. How do I turn them back on?
I think they're movement based.
Yeah.
There we go. You're
right,
too
sorry.
quiet.
You have to keep moving around. All right, sorry about
that. Should I restart from top of this slide? Is it easier to edit?
Sure. Yeah, it would be fine.
Yeah. All right. So with this slide show you what the experience is going to be as a SaaS solution builder with SaaS Boost. Just like any other projects, you clone from repository. In this case, it's GitHub, and you provision this solution into your AWS account. So you will need Java 11 and Node for the pipeline of the solution, and it does have both Windows and Linux-based installer. And installer supports both installing SaaS Boost, upgrading, and installing that optional metrics component as well. And you can also use the installer to remove SaaS Boost from your AWS account. And after that, you upload your application. So this is where you might already have a containerized application. Otherwise, there are add to container and a few other AWS services to help you move your application into container a bit faster. But within the repository of SaaS Boost, there is a sample application you can upload. It's a very simple app that has dependency on relational database, and it's basically a product catalog with artificial CPU load page, so you can see what out of the box dashboards are like, and then you can use the admin application to provision and manage your tenants.
Fantastic. When you mention containers, is Docker based, or what kind of technology is there?
Yeah, Docker container. So at the moment, it does require you to have one Docker container, and as part of the SaaS Boost, it will create a Docker registry in your AWS account. So the instruction is really build your application and upload it to the registry that's been provisioned by SaaS Boost. And SaaS Boost, like itself, there is an environment concept. So whenever you install, you're giving a label. So, it can be demo, dev, test, production. So you can have multiple SaaS Boosts within a single account in a single region as well.
Fantastic.
Cool. And once you go through all of the process, what you get looks something like this. As I talked about, that admin application backed by CloudFront and S3. And then there's API gateways, and all of the common, the microservices that comes out of the box are implemented by a series of Lambda functions. And then there are optional components that I talked about on the right-hand side, with billing integration with Stripe and analytics and QuickSight. That's done with Redshift, and there's a metrics API that your application can make use of to publish. So it can be a billing event or metric that might be important to your application. Right, and deployments. So when you deploy your tenants, it is, each tenant is deployed in highly scalable and available architecture. So each tenant is deployed within their own VPC, which isolates its tenant's workload and across multiple availability zones. And the container service we use is ECS cluster, but Fargate will be the option for Linux-based containers, and it will also go and provision any database or file system you configure as part of your application. And in terms of the routing between tenants, we're using what is quite common routing technique with multi-tenant SaaS application. So you can manage your domain using Route 53, then it will actually go ahead and assign those tenant subdomains, and that's how it gets routed.
And all of that I can configure on the deployment of the SaaS Boost framework, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you don't have a custom domain or don't want to manage that within Route 53, you can go without setting up a domain. And what it does is it will just expose the application load balancer URL, and you can access them that way.
Cool, that's great.
Cool. Yeah, and then the last part really before the demo is that it also comes with tenant-aware operational views. So it has some basic metrics that's available today around number of requests, CPU and memory utilization as a whole environment, and also for each tenant.
So I have the aggregate view of all my tenants, and I can see each tenant individually too.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's something that's been very important for SaaS customers because you often hear about the noisy neighbor questions, and I guess the challenge is even in siloed environment, you do want to understand what the customers are using, and not all tenants are same. You want to understand overall consumption trends. But at the same time, you might look at some of the highly utilized tenants data as well. Cool.
Fantastic. All right. That's great. Yeah.
I do that. Let me just switch my screen. Just 1 second. Yeah, I think I'm sharing the right screen.
This one?
Yeah, awesome. Right. So when you install your SaaS Boost in your AWS account, you'll be asked to provide an email for your first admin account, and you will get a temporary password for that account, and you can log in to your SaaS Boost admin application. So yeah, in the URL you can see this is served through AWS CloudFront, and all of the API calls are backed by those Lambda functions that I talked about. In summary, there we go. So yeah, in this SaaS Boost environment, I provision 3 tenants, and I've disabled one, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So the label that I've given for this environment is demo, and I've chosen to deploy in this region. So you get the summary of what the environment is and the application. So I've called my demo application using Linux operating system, and that Docker repository on AWS, and those details. So I have not configured billing integration, and I'm using Postgres as my database. So when you first install SaaS Boost, you're going to see a little badge next to this application icon. That just means it hasn't been configured. So there's a domain name that you can configure if you want to manage that in Route 53. Give it a name for your application, and you choose your container size. So this is the default, setting for your tenants. But when you onboard each tenant, you have option to override this, and which port that your container is going to listen on, and what the health check URL for your container is. And again, here you have the minimum and maximum instance count for your containers. You can choose when you onboard new tenants. So with container, supports both Linux and Windows. Linux will be run on Fargate runtime. When you choose Windows, you will need to select which version of Windows Server that you want to use. And it runs on managed EC2 hosts, as Fargate doesn't support Windows today. And there's optionally, a lot of applications still relies on shared file systems. So for Linux, you can use EFS. SaaS Boost will provision that for you for each tenant, or FSX for Windows. And then security best practice, encrypt the rest. You can have the life cycle management. So after so many days of those files that hasn't been accessed, that just gets moved to infrequently accessed tier to save costs. And you have option to specify requirement on relational database. So because I've already provisioned it,
And all those
yeah.
And all those options I can override later on my specific when I'm launching a new tenant, or that works kind of a template. How is the relationship here?
Yeah, so with the compute, you can customize with each tenant. The database for right now, it is an application-wide setting, so you can't customize
Okay.
instance types or type of database at the moment. Yeah, and you can also upload a SQL file, so that gets run when your RDS instance has been provisioned. So that can be creating all your schema in your database, or pre-populating any data that you need when your tenant has been provisioned. And then there's the option of billing integration there.
So this is the aggregation billing of all the tenants, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
So in the tenants, so you can see I've got 3 tenants deployed. So when I go into tenant deployment, so you will see you have option to override details. So you can change the compute size. So it will change, the vCPU and memory on your Fargate instance, or for your Windows EC2 instance type. And it will go ahead and provision. And of course, everything in the background is backed by CloudFormation templates. So when you go into CloudFormation, you will see each tenant as a CloudFormation stack.
So there's no magic. I can inspect the resource that will be generated in my account just going through the CloudFormation dashboard, right?
Yeah. So I've got 3 tenants here. So if I look at tenant 3, who I've overridden the size, and it has a medium instead of small. And in this tenant view, you can see this load balancer URL. So you can see this is my sample application that I talked about earlier. That's in the GitHub repo. So you get the link to that, and you also get links to AWS resources that are relevant for this tenant. So these are quick links they can go in. So I can go into, say, ECS cluster details. And you can see at the moment, I've got only 1 task running. I've set this one up to 4 tasks. So you can actually have these quick links to check resources in your AWS account.
That's a great dashboard. And where's the metrics? I'm curious now.
Yep, I'm getting there. Yep. Yeah. And then, other thing is the users. So like at the moment, I talked a little bit about, enhanced integration with identity. So with the current version, we support integration for the admin application. So identity management of your application itself is not handled by SaaS Boost today. But that's something that we see a lot of customers, having that SaaS identity where you have the tenant and those individual users within your customers is very important concept. That's core concept in any SaaS application. So those are the things that we want to hear from customers, hear from partners on what's important, what third-party providers or AWS services you use to integrate. So this is where you can invite additional admin users for this admin app. So you can go into dashboard. So that's what.
There we go. I love graphs.
Should load in a second. So the default view. So it's number of requests that's been received by all of your tenants. So it's showing 90th, 70th, and 50th percentile for each of the tenants and number of requests. So the tenant 3 has received over 1,100. And then you look at tenant 2 with 815, and you also get like similar charts on 400 and 500 errors based on tenants. And you can also drill into individual tenants. So I can go into tenant 3, and it's showing me on the chart. Yeah. So this was, I think, yesterday when I was putting in some artificial load to make this chart a little bit more interesting. A little spike up there. And then, yeah, a few errors that are produced. But yeah, no 500 errors. And then, of course, you have the control on time. So not much happened today. And similar thing with compute. So you can look at compute utilization. So all of this you get for free. So these are without changes to the application code. So these are the metrics that comes out of AWS service, like ECS and Fargate.
So these metrics, they correlate with the CloudWatch metrics on my account, or they are different ones?
That's right, yeah. So these are aggregated through CloudWatch. And each of actually tenants logs from your containers are actually forwarded to CloudWatch logs as well. So as part of the tenant provisioning process, it creates a log group for your tenants.
Oh, fantastic! And because it's open source, I can probably add more graphs here if I want to, right?
Yeah. So I mean, there's two ways to kind of get adopting SaaS Boost. First is the low friction, which is you use as is, or you can, other option is, of course, it is open source. You can extend, you can contribute back to master, or you may want to fork it for now. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely extend this to include additional metrics.
No. That's a great single dashboard to see everything. Nice.
Yeah, and then in terms of request counts, as you can see, 7 days. Do I have anything? Maybe not. So yeah, you get a few different charts, and there we go. It was just being slow.
There you go.
Haven't used in a while. The Lambda cold starts. Getting all this data. Yeah. So yeah, you can see that artificial load page. It's saying the average response time was like 14 seconds because it spins few cycles. And yeah, just quickly on in CloudFormation, you can see this SaaS Boost demo. So that's my provisioning of SaaS Boost component, and then I've also provisioned that optional component of metrics through the installer, and then I've provisioned these 3 tenants through the admin applications. And you can, of course, drill down to look at all the resources that it creates and all of the Lambda functions. And with the optional metrics, what it does is it does provide that API that your application can make use of. So with the demo application, there wasn't like a lot of different metrics that I put in, but if you think about like these as a billing metrics, so if you really go into the consumption-based billing, your application can submit those billing events and create your custom dashboard also in QuickSight. So that's sort of another option that you can make use of.
So just to be clear, all the metrics here from the tenant and the stacks will be on my account, and then I can filter that anywhere that I want using QuickSight in this case, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so everything you do with SaaS Boost, it's all within your AWS account and in the region that you choose. So as part of the installer, it is making use of that AWS CLI. So you specify which region you want to deploy this into, and all the tenant onboarding that stays in the region, all within your account. And of course, with the VPC isolation model, because you do need to watch out for your account limit on how many VPCs you can have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it for demo. And I just want to go back to stop sharing the screen.
So how long it took you to deploy this demo?
So SaaS Boost itself, it takes about an hour to deploy. I actually use Cloud9 on AWS to deploy, just because my laptop gets hot with anything, and I just wanted to close it, not run an hour for it. So yeah, like the great thing with Cloud9 is you can run it when you need it and have a lot of those dependent tooling pre-installed that you don't have to install on your laptop. But yeah, like it takes about an hour for all the resources get deployed, and also deploying the sample application, doing tenant onboarding. But if you don't want, allow yourself like a couple of hours, and you can get it going in your AWS account.
Oh, fantastic. In 2 hours, I can have my multi-tenant SaaS architecture factor ready to go without a problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just want to have chat with Andre about what Lancome technology is, who they are, what they have done, and also have a little bit of Q&A on SaaS Boost and SaaS in general. Andre.
Sweet. Tēnā koutou again. So Lancome Technology, so that's where I'm from. I'm again a senior developer there. I guess so Lancome's been around for about 32 years. We're based in Auckland, New Zealand, but we also have an office in Melbourne in Australia. So there's sort of three sides to the Lancome business. The first, which is where we started, is managed services. So that we provide managed engineering services to some really small companies to really large enterprises as well. The second side to Lancome is software development. So we've been doing software development for basically all of those 32 years as well, but the scale of that has certainly grown in the past sort of 5 to 6 years. We're still running the very first piece of software that we ever wrote for our client. Of course, it's had some updates in that time, but yeah, so we really have some long-lasting relationships with some of those clients. In terms of software development and managed services, we've been working in AWS in the public cloud for almost as long as it's been a thing. AWS is a really great platform for us. We love leverage. We love making use of other people's work, and AWS has some great services that they provide that allow you to easily scale and deploy solutions, without having to worry about manually provisioning infrastructure. I'm sure everybody here knows this. So the third side to Lancome is SaaS. So we have our own SaaS businesses as well. There are 4 products. They were just on the previous slide, actually, just on the right side. So Desk Director is our largest, and that's these lights are going off again. Sorry. Can I come back to
the wrong streaking you?
I think there must be a
better than the others. Yeah.
Sorry, one sec. Okay. I'll just start that from the SaaS bit again.
Yeah.
Cool. 4, 3, 2, 1.
So the third side to Lancome is SaaS. So we're also a SaaS provider ourselves. We have 4 SaaS products that we manage. The largest of those is Desk Director, which has users across the world in the United States, United Kingdom, and other countries, as well as HireRoom, CSP Portal, and Time Sanity. So we know SaaS, and because of that, we've been given a SaaS competency by AWS as part of the AWS Partner Network. So we're really big advocates of SaaS. We work with a lot of our clients to develop SaaS solutions from scratch, to perform application modernization on some older SaaS solutions. So we're one of only 3 partners in APAC to have the SaaS competency, first in New Zealand as well. And since acquiring that competency last year, we've run a number of ISV discovery workshops where AWS clients brought to us as a partner, and we take a look at their application, and usually there's some specific goals in mind. Other times the customer's really just looking to see how they can leverage AWS to help SaaSify their application if it's not a SaaS product already. Sometimes just modernization, moving from monolithic architectures to more serverless distributed architectures. That's sort of Lancome overall.
Awesome. So next slide is my cheesy attempt at fireside chat. Well, my first question to you, Andre, is why do you think customers are moving to SaaS?
Yeah, it's great question. So the biggest benefit about SaaS is, I think, really just the ease of access for customers. So customers want to be able to, get right into a solution as soon as possible. The sort of classic model of software of providing an installation, sometimes in the cloud, sometimes on premise, that can take significant amount of time for onboarding. There's often a lot of maintenance that goes along with that. Sometimes you'll have to be paying large amounts for support to have the application supported on premise. Whereas moving to SaaS, I guess what we're seeing a lot of is companies that just have this really, really great idea and want to get it out into the world and have people start consuming it. One of the worst places I think you can be in is having this sort of golden idea where you're able to help people solve a really, really big problem, and you just don't have the ability to scale as quickly as you possibly can. And that's why I think SaaS is such an attractive model, because once you have all of those deployment pipelines, you have your onboarding, provisioning, all of those sort of pieces of the puzzle, then the only thing that's limiting you is the rate at which you develop your application and provide value to customers.
Yeah, I mean, that's like really great point.
Let me just hijack here, Nick, a little bit. So on this topic, Andre, you mentioned Lancome have been developing software for many years right now. So unrelated to SaaS itself, do you know any, or maybe you can comment on any trends that are coming up on the software life cycle of on this side, where people are developing new software today? They're thinking about cloud and on premises. You mentioned about managed services, containers, serverless. There's any common trend here around the products you have been working with?
Yeah, I think serverless is one of the biggest ones, and we're sort of really watching that trend accelerate, particularly in the past sort of 3 years. Obviously, one of the big benefits of serverless for a ISV's perspective, the actual SaaS provider, is the cost savings, and so only having to pay for what you use. With sort of traditional software models, where you have a big monolithic server, whether it's in the cloud or on premises, you're usually over provisioning by 150% just to be able to accommodate for those large peaks when people are logging on in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, really interesting with serverless, because obviously, if you're an AWS customer already, you will have heard a lot about shared responsibility model, and often it is in the security context. But when you look at it just generally, even in operational and other areas, when you go serverless, you are really offloading a lot of work to AWS, right? Like maintaining operating systems. Who wants to do that anymore? It's boring, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, that's something we see a lot of, obviously, being both in software development and managed services. We sort of do have both sides of the coin, and you can see it within Lancome, and we think it's a reflection of the world out there as people are making that transition to being, fully moving away from infrastructure management, operational overhead. There are people out there in AWS data centers that do this, every day, and why not leverage what they already provide?
Yeah. And it's, like other interesting data points from Forrester report earlier this year is that a lot of, SaaS customers, with the pricing and ease of onboarding new tenants once they have SaaS product, is really enabling them to, reach new countries, new markets. So I think it was around like 85% of surveyed customers the SaaS was a way to reach new customer, both geographically and also reaching smaller size customers.
Yeah, totally. I think that's another sort of thing we're seeing as well as having that offloading of different parts of your platform. I think another aspect of that is, as you say, the sort of the billing side, the product side of that as well. We as well as those ISV discovery workshops. Another partnership we have with AWS is Marketplace Rapid Onboardings. So the AWS Marketplace is available for ISVs and SaaS providers to sell their software as a service through AWS. And what that means is anyone with an AWS account, no matter what country they're in, is able to purchase your SaaS products and onboard in a very integrated way. And then AWS Marketplace handles all of that sort of billing and payment side of it for you. So gone are the days of having to have incorporate in every single country that you want to offer your product in. We've been seeing a lot of providers that often they'll start off as ISV discovery customer and then transition over into going onto the marketplace so that they can quickly get their product that they are sitting on a gold mine and they just want to get it out to the world. And so I think that you make a really good point about SaaS opening up to lots of different markets around the world and sort of tearing down those more legal financial walls that are just getting in the way of software.
Yeah, and because like a lot of SaaS companies also make their sort of development APIs and can monetize. Again, with AWS Marketplace, it's one option to monetize your APIs for your developer ecosystem.
Yeah, totally.
And how important is to be open source in this case? Because we have the release of SaaS Boost like a few months ago. And what is the message to the community, or even for the developer community in this case, that why you should use a structure like that?
Yeah, so it's really around accelerating your path to SaaS. The best thing is if you start from kind of traditional software or on-prem, or it may even be on AWS already. If you have managed service offering, there's automation, like deployment automation and CI/CD pipeline doesn't equal SaaS offering, right? So like we talked about those common components that are critical in SaaS, around identity, onboarding experience, metrics, billing. So all of those things, like it may be part of your existing application, but are they tenant aware? And do you have resources, team to actually make that happen? Is it going to take? How many weeks or months is this going to take? So that's kind of where like program like SaaS Boost fits, and it is open source, so you can try. If tinkering and DIYing is like really your thing, you want to try before talking to us. It's also great, and also, but we do want to hear from you. So, like use the issues and bug reports in GitHub to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and yeah.
Yeah, I think you're sort of speaking about the tinkering. I think it's really great that that's available as an option, but at the same time, I know that through our experience running these discovery workshops, a lot of the SaaS companies that we see, particularly in New Zealand, or software companies, I should say, New Zealand has historically been very, Windows and .NET focused, and so the ability for SaaS Boost to work with Windows as a platform, I think it's a really great way to, like you say, sort of accelerate. The speed is one part of it, but I think the other side as well is when we're sort of looking at how do we SaaSify a application, and it's this old monolithic application running on Windows Server 2000 and whatever. We need to. Often there's this sort of yearning to make the most of AWS straight away. Coming from clients, coming from architects as well, but sometimes it's not about getting there straight away, but just leveraging AWS as quickly as possible. So being able to get
Yeah,
into the cloud now, like it doesn't just sort of give you that first step, remove some of that anxiety, but it also is going to be freeing up your resources. Suddenly you're not going to have your operations and development teams having to worry about doing, managing different versions for different clients, or having to worry about doing deployments and provisioning infrastructure. You suddenly free up all these resources who can then start working on making the most of serverless, distributed containers, and these other sort of features that SaaS Boost might not yet support, but that doesn't mean that SaaS Boost can't be helpful.
Yeah. I mean,
I,
today,
I love that word, satisfying. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, today it does it does do like rolling updates. So if you release new version of your application and upload it to your Docker registry in AWS, it will roll them out to all of your tenants. So at the moment, current version, there isn't like a lot of control on how you manage the rollout, because all tenants are treated equally today. But a lot of SaaS companies, as you grow, some of your larger enterprise customers might have, like you want to look at the A/B testing and kind of having the pilot, beta experience. So those are definitely things. Yeah, we want to see what's really more useful in context of SaaS Boost. There's always so many things we can do.
Yeah, totally. And I think, from my perspective, if one of the sort of key ways that I'd love to use SaaS Boost when interacting with customers is as that sort of proof of concept piece. Like you said, it took you an hour to spin it up today. If we can get a application into a container, it doesn't have to work perfectly, but if we can, sort of within the scope of, a workshop can show a customer, hey, here's your application running in SaaS Boost, this is what it looks like, then it really removes those mental barriers, I think, that might, cause that hesitancy and making that leap into the cloud.
Yeah.
On test blockers, Andre, with your experience helping customers move to this SaaSify environment, what are the common blockers that they have, either mentally or even something real that actually are blocking them to move or do the jump from one side to another?
Yeah, sure. So I think a big one is vendor lock-in. That happens quite a lot. There's often cases where there are on-premises deployments that we really struggle to make those work in a cloud context, and that's where sort of some of the tools that are provided by AWS to simplify and sort of streamline those deployments can really help. But even then, there is a lot of upfront investment. I'd say another thing that kind of causes the hesitancy, I guess I was talking about, is that upfront investment again. So there's often a bit of development work that has to go along with that, and a lot of the times these teams that have been working on an application, sometimes it's been the same people for 10, 15 years. Oh, sorry. So sometimes these people that have been working on applications for 10, 15 years, they've got zero cloud experience. And so, it is a large sort of ecosystem, and while it's very open, there's still a lot to learn. And so that's sort of a blocker. And I think that's where, APM partners like Lancome and just the AWS team can really help with that in terms of upskilling and also providing the tools that can make that transition a lot easier.
Oh, fantastic. We are closing the mark for 1 hour now. There's anything else, Nick or Andre, that you want to send as a message for everyone?
Yes, I do have a takeaway slide. So,
ooh, there you go.
If you're a developer or even if you're an architect like myself, want to have a play, go to the GitHub, AWS/SaaS Boost, and install it in your account. Deploy the sample app, or if you have a containerized application, you can do that. and configure your application parameters. Allow yourself a couple of hours, and you will have your application in SaaS Boost. Do communicate with us via issues for feature requests and bug reports in GitHub. And additionally, just other resources available on SaaS Boost. So the SaaS Factory team based out of the US mainly, they do run an office hour on SaaS Boost. So it runs 8 a.m. Thursday every week. So when you go to the Twitch, AWS Twitch channel, you will see about 5 or 6. And that actually works through some of this installation process. And each office hour is around 1 hour. And as we talk about, the current version is really focused on the full stack silo SaaS model. So the sweet spot really is your web, also some API application that can be containerized into a single container. That can be Windows or Linux based. But yeah, additionally, the extensibility and other things around multi-containers or multi-tenant models, those are the things that are on roadmap. And if you're not sure, you can start this as a path to accelerate. You can talk to your AWS team, talk to partner like AWS Lancome to get started.
Great.
Yeah, I do love the idea that Andre said that this framework can help remove the anxiety and be but one tool of the journey to move from a siloed-based installation to a multi-tenant SaaS application. I think that's great. Andre, we were saying something, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just going to say, yeah, thank you guys very much for having me. And yeah, if anyone watching is wanting to, SaaSify their applications, get into serverless and SaaS, then, feel free to give us a call. We'll be happy to help you out on your SaaS journey.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. Let's satisfy everything. Well, thank you everyone. Thank you for watching. And that's great. Well, once again, thank you everyone for watching. We'll be up with the next episode in 15 days. Keep an eye on the Twitch and also on our LinkedIn group. And see you next time. Bye.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.
Cool.
Awesome.
56 minutes. Yeah, that was good. Good one. Good take.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
So,
any comments?
Sorry about the light. I guess I'm not moving around enough or something.
No, I forgot about that. And actually, some days it's worse than the other. Even
right.
Yeah.
So
I agree with Nick. It really depends on the mood. Yeah.
Is that all going to, I guess, work out, or with the light stimming and everything, or we don't need to redo any little bits?
I think on the beginning we had your first one. We actually kind of stopped talking and then wait for you. I can edit that part and do a small, transition to the next part. And then we have a second take where Nick he started the slides about the SaaS installation. I think besides that, I didn't saw any other major issues. Any comments on that?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I guess as long as I don't look too silly.
Well, we all look silly, no worries. To be fair, we're experimenting with the Twitch channel, and I do believe creating demand on there will help us drive more kind of episode-based or show-based programs. So thank you for participating, Andre, and I think Nick will in the future invite you again because I really want to push that forward to have more structure-based programs here in New Zealand, and just thank you.
Yeah, totally. It would be great to come back. Can I ask, when is this one going live?
Thursday, 7 p.m.
Okay, New Zealand time.
New Zealand time. Yeah. In 2 days.
Hopefully, I was kind of looking at the camera most of the time. Because I was sharing my screen, I couldn't see myself.
Yeah, it kept messing me up how the camera's not, it's not mirrored. So
yeah. It was like,
it's really tricky to move.
Yeah.
Like to say, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries, cool. Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you, folks. I will edit the video today. I will send a link to Nick, and then Nick can send to you, Andre, to watch the edited version. But yeah, I think it's just like that two pieces in the
Yeah.
beginning that we'll need to have a, just a fade in, fade out there, but it will be fine.
Awesome. Just on the LinkedIn post, the hashtags and mentions, because include Andre, Lancome, hashtag. I don't know, it's like Clinton mentioned something.
Yeah,
about
go for it.
Yeah. I think
That's
Clinton's all over that stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Will
Awesome.
I see you down here, Nick, or should I just let myself?
I'll come up and say thanks and
Yes, please see. All right, I'll give you this.
Cool. See you, folks.